Oh, thanks. So FECOMIRWA is the Federation of Mining Cooperatives in Rwanda. So it's in French, in fact, FECOMIRWA means Fédération des Coopératives Minières au Rwanda. So it's dealing with the supervision. We have mining cooperatives which are spread all over the country, and FECOMIRWA has the tasks of supervising technically and administratively all those mining cooperatives within our country.
Yeah. And how many cooperatives are in the FECOMIRWA?
Currently, we have 30 mining cooperatives which are affiliated to FECOMIRWA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And about how many miners are we talking about?
The number of miners in all those mining cooperatives is around 10,000 people.
10,000 people.
Yes.
It's quite a lot. And can you maybe also explain a bit what FECOMIRWA does here at the building, like processing and stuff like that?
So FECOMIRWA, in fact, receives the products extracted from the mining site, different mining sites of those mining cooperatives. We receive those products which are somehow processed at the mining site, but still we have to upgrade those concentrates.
Yeah. And
so here at the headquarters we have a small processing plant which is composed by a section of crushing. Another one is a section of magnetic separation. So the first section of grinding or milling, it serves to reduce the size of the minerals in order, in fact, for the second plant to be used in order to separate, because most of our minerals received from our mining cooperatives are a mixture of cassiterite and coltan. So in order, in fact, to separate the two minerals, cassiterite and columbotantalite, we have to use what we call a magnetic separator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you sell it to the...
Then once we have processed the minerals, we will then take samples from each mineral for each cooperative and each supply within the cooperative, because when they supply the minerals from a given cooperative, it's not one person. There are many persons who are digging in the mining site of those cooperatives, and then when they supply the minerals to us, they indicate the name of the cooperative, but also the name of the owner of the minerals which are supplied to us.
Right.
So after the processing is complete at our headquarters, then we have to make analysis. We have a laboratory where we must try to see what's the grade of each mineral, and then the prices to be paid to the owner of the minerals is determined taking into account, in fact, the grade of the concentrate.
And then you sell it to the buyer.
Then after we have bought the minerals from the cooperatives, without making, in fact, a big profit margin, then we export the minerals to potential buyers. Currently, we have one big buyer who is in Hong Kong. So he's the one to who we are sending the minerals, but he has his representation here in Kigali, so the minerals are to pass through the representative. But in order to be sure, because when we supply the minerals, they are come to the buyer, those minerals are coming from different cooperatives, so with different grades. But when we supply to the buyer, we have to mix all those minerals. So after mixing all the minerals, we'll take a sample and analyze in the laboratory to see what are the grades for each type of minerals. And then the representative of the buyer will also take a sample to make his own analysis. And in case we found that there is no much difference, big difference between our results, then we'll agree on the unit price, on which we'll then establish an invoice which will be sent to Hong Kong to the buyer, so that within 3 to 4 days we can get the payments through transfer in our bank account.
And the government is quite serious about value addition, to add values to the Rwandan mineral exports. How do you view this, and the processing and stuff like that?
Yeah, in fact, the government, because our federation, in fact, has been created by the government, although it's operating as a private institution, but it has been created by government in order, in fact, to make such a technical and administrative supervision of the mining cooperatives, because what we know is that the owners or the members of those mining cooperatives are just peasants, and we call them the small-scale miners compared to these big mining companies in our country. And the policy for the government is to try, in fact, to let those peasants dig or extract minerals in their areas so that they can uplift their way of living. So FECOMIRWA is there, in fact, to try to assist those peasants in the exploitation, extraction, and then the commercialization of the minerals. So the government is quite eager to add value to the minerals, but we are faced currently with the lack of adequate equipments. So we are still looking for funds in order, in fact, to get more appropriate equipment so that the concentrates we are selling overseas can be upgraded further so that we can get more resources or more revenues from the selling of the minerals.
Yeah, because right now that work is being done in Hong Kong and other places, not here in Rwanda.
Yeah, meaning when we add value, we add value from the cooperative, the mining site itself. Then when you upgrade here, we are adding value, but it's not enough. We are supposed, in fact, if we see all the chain, we are supposed to have what we call a processing plant, which has more sophisticated equipment, so that in fact the grade of our concentrates. Currently, we are selling cassiterite with an average of 60% as the grade. And the coltan, the grade is around 25%. But if we have sophisticated equipments, we can, for the cassiterite, go up to 80%, and then coltan can go up to even 50%. So that we will be sending, in fact, more pure concentrates than the current situation where we are selling concentrates which contain more impurities. And then because of those impurities, we are, in fact, when we make invoices, the buyer is, in fact, deducting much money for the fact that you have to use more chemical agents during the smelting process.
And also the transport costs are much higher?
The transport also is there because our country is landlocked. So we are selling the minerals, and we load. All the concentrates are transported up to the port of Mombasa through the road. And the road is quite very expensive. Transport by road is quite expensive.
And also because you're saying like you have to still upgrade the minerals, so now you're shipping something that is of 60% purity instead of it could be 80%. So you're kind of also shipping 20%
of impurities, yes.
That's also a bigger cost for you?
Yeah, it's a cost because you are for the transport. When you are transporting minerals, the minerals are put in drums and sealed, and after the drums are put in containers, which later on the containers also might be sealed. But what we are paying for transport charges, it's calculated taking into account the volume or the quantity in the container. So meaning if we are in a situation whereby we can in fact reduce the quantity of impurities. We'll be sending a given tonnage, but with more grade, and we'll be paying somehow the same transport charges, but with more revenues.
And to have such processing plants here to refine and to upgrade the minerals, what are the problems in maybe not just funds, but also other issues in establishing such a plant here for FECOMIRWA?
For FECOMIRWA, we could say that the problem we are facing is about investments, because potential investors might be interested in our mining cooperatives, but as I said, they are the small-scale mines, and the equipment to buy is not very costly. But the problem is that there has not been enough exploration, so that we cannot just identify and know with exactitude what are the quantities of minerals to be extracted from each mining site. So because of such lack of knowledge of reserves, potential investors are somewhat doubting to come with their funds to invest in our cooperatives. But we have started by interesting the buyer. The current buyer is planning to start by investing in 5 mining cooperatives. By next year, the first term of next year, we hope that we'll be starting by 3 of the 5 cooperatives, which will be regarded as the pilot cooperatives in the way they will be managed, because we have also that problem of lack of skilled personnel. So the investors also, when they invest, they have to see if the funds invested might be well used. So we are in the process, or we have agreed with this potential buyer, the current buyer, who is the potential investor. We have agreed with him that once funds are availed, then we'll have to hire technicians, even from outside Rwanda, to be at the mining sites where equipments bought with the money given by the investor will be placed, so that we can have a daily follow-up of the way extraction is done, so that we can maximize the profit from that cooperative and be able to refund the money to the investor as agreed earlier.
And what kind of equipment are we talking about?
So currently, for the first step, we need water pumps. Water pumps, because most of our mining sites are located in hilly zones, far from water. So there is a complication of just trying to bring the raw materials to near the rivers. But there also, it's not allowed, in order to protect the environment, it's not allowed to process, to clean those raw materials in the rivers. So it will be at a given distance where we dig or create what we call the decantation basins, in which we have to make this cleaning of the minerals, so that the dirty water coming from this exercise might be passed through some basins, in order to have these solid particles to settle down, and only clear water can be allowed to flow again to the river. So we have planned that if we can buy, at the first stage, we buy the water pumps to supply water to those mining sites, so that at least, instead of transporting these raw materials to the place located near the river, we'll be able to clean the minerals just at the place of extraction. So this will imply that the quantity extracted and cleaned might be more and more, will be increased. It's what we are planning first. But then we say also that the way we are cleaning minerals at the mining sites, it's not the good one because it's made manually. After supplying water to the mining sites, the second stage will be, in fact, will consist in making the processing exercise more operational by installing, in fact, some processing units, like what we call the jigs, the shaking tables, and so on, so that we can, even by so doing, we'll be able to reduce the losses we are incurring when we are processing manually.
I just wanted to return to the question of water again, because you mentioned that it's also for the environment and not just to upgrade production. So are they right now, is it a common occurrence that the minerals are being mined in the river and to the degradation of the local environment?
No, there is strict regulations regarding the protection of environment. So meaning we are not allowed to go and clean minerals in the rivers, but we do it near the rivers in order to avoid, in fact, that the solid particles and other components which must be poisonous for the environment be flown in the rivers.
Because I went to one of the mining sites run by a cooperative, and then I saw that they were also cleaning the minerals inside the river. But I mean, of course it's strictly not allowed, but I can imagine it still happens.
Somehow there are those regulations, but the problem is also for those people who are illiterate to abide by the law, to follow strictly the regulations. But it's really prohibited to make such cleaning in the rivers.
But it still happens in some
Yeah,
places.
sometimes it happens.
So that's why these pumps are important.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also mentioned the lack of skilled personnel, and is that also a problem here at FECOMIRWA?
Yeah, we are facing a big shortage of qualified personnel because this FECOMIRWA before the war, it was called COPIMAR. And if I remember well, it had many cooperatives and with around 5 to 6 mining engineers and geologists who were in the mining sites to supervise all extraction and management activities. And at that time, they had at the headquarters, they had at least 5 personnel who had got university degrees. But nowadays what we see is that we are only 3 persons with university degrees at the headquarters, but in the mining sites we don't have any university personnel, personnel with the university level. And most of them, recently, we have tried to hire, in fact, people with who completed their secondary schools in accounting in order to try to organize the administration of the cooperatives. But on the technical side, we still lack the personnel. We try to get nationals as technicians, but we can't find them because before the war, there were a given number of mining engineers, a given number of geologists, and because of the war, some were killed, some fled the country, and so on, so that currently we are without no mining engineers, young mining engineers or young geologists. And there is a time also after the war, because there was a decline in the mining activities, so people were no longer interested in doing these mining or geology studies because they were not seeing a bright future in such activities.
And transport at the mine sites, like for the working conditions for the mine workers, for the miners themselves, like safety and security and all this kind of stuff, how is that?
So we try to equip the workers with just small equipments, starting by the helmet, the overalls, the boots, But for the lamps, when they go underground, they have to use, in fact, these normal lamps, because we don't have electricity. Among the other problems we are facing, we don't have electricity supplied at the mining site. So meaning we cannot make electrification of the underground site, so that we can at least be sure that those people working in the underground are getting the light from electricity. So we are using these normal lamps with these normal batteries. And for the security, where we find that the rock is not enough hard and it can collapse. So what we do is that we are using trees. We are trying to use trees in order to try to avoid such rocks, the soft rocks, falling on the workers.
But I mean, I can imagine that in that sense, like you also said, that you don't have the engineers and the geologists and stuff like that, especially like engineers and technical people to guide the workers in how to properly construct the mine, and to also have the equipment to strengthen the tunnels and stuff like that. Is that also an issue?
Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue, in fact. So recently we have hired a technician who has worked in the mining sector for many years in what we called before Redemi, and then other mining companies. Has just joined 1 month ago. It's in order, in fact, because they have acquired, although he's a technician in electromechanics, but he has been working for around 10 years in mining, so he knows some practices in mining. So he's the one on who I will be giving instructions, in fact, on the way to try to make such protections of the workers at the mining site.
Yeah, because you mentioned that you have 3 university graduates working here.
Yeah.
And who does it include?
So it means myself, I'm a mining engineer with a master's degree in mining and a bachelor's degree in management. But then we have the head of the administration department, who has got a bachelor's degree in sociology. And then we have the third one, is the recently hired technician, who has got a bachelor's degree. No, it's we say A1 level, 3 years in our system, in electromechanics. Okay. But he has got enough experience in the mining sector. Then very soon, we have among the staff, we have also 2 people who are students in the evening programs in 2 private universities here in Kigali. One of them will graduate by January or February in management.